Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 121st U.S. Open preview. I am super excited that it is finally here and that we are done with the Palmetto Championship. But I am going to be breaking down Torrey Pines South, the player field. We're going to do some models and some analysis. I want to thank you all again for stopping by. And to start, I am going to do just a very, very quick recap of the Palmetto, and then we're going to get into this. Let's do this. All right, so real quickly, we all knew it was going to be a tough go with the Palmetto Championship. Whenever you're going to a new course, you have no course history. We had, no idea of how, you should play the course. I actually had a pretty good idea when I kind of looked back at some of the analysis, which we're not going to go into, but the guys that did very well were the things I was looking for. Guys that were really good on approach, putting. Of course, funny enough, the one thing I think wasn't that big of a deal was driving distance, because pretty much Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it was getting firm and fast. So if they ever do come back to this course at Congaree, you don't really need guys that can bomb it because you need to hit the fairway. And if you hit the fairway, they were gaining about probably 30 to 40 yards of rollout. And so you saw guys that did well there, like the Ches Reeves and the Ryan Armours, who, you don't have to bomb it. You just have to hit it in the fairway and away she goes. So that'd be the one thing. I mean, and it wasn't a crucial thing for me. I'm picking my guys, but it was an area that, I thought distance could take an advantage of. So long story short, on the good news, and there is some good news, my top five guys, of course, I picked Garrick Hago, who was your winner in my top five. So that was good. I had, of course, Fleetwood, I had Hatton, and I had Ian Poulter, who all did, I don't know, so-so. I'll just put it that way. Patty Kazire, what can I say? I guess rode the Patty Kazire train a little too long. So, I apologize for that and for me because I had him, to win on a bet. I had him even a first-round leader bet. But, yeah, maybe we rode the train too long. And also, I guess we'll just keep an eye when he hits the Texas swing. It seems like that's where he likes to make his hay. Now, who knows? We'll see what's coming up. And then on Tommy Fleetwood, I don't know of a better place that Tommy could have actually won finally for his first time in the U.S. I think this course style fit him on all fronts. Him being able to play the ball even when it got wet out. He knows how to play in those conditions. So, I feel bad for Tommy because I don't know of a better time for him to win on a regular PGA Tour event. Now, funny, when it gets into the majors, he definitely tends to show up. Then, of course, you had Terrell Hatton, who went out, I think it was on Saturday, shot those 3 eagles. That was crazy, back-to-back eagles. So, he ended up doing, I think around 10 under. So I think he ended up, a tie for second or something like that. But from a betting perspective, I actually did hit Garrick Hago, which was nice. I put that bet in before the tournament started, and that was at 50-1. Funny enough, his odds, shockingly enough, weren't better than that. And maybe if I'd have shopped it around a little more, consider it was his second event ever on the PGA Tour, and he won it. That's crazy. And, of course, his life has changed. He'll be at the U.S. Open, which he already did qualify for. I think he through his world rankings. And then also, a side story was he applied to try to get in the Travelers, and he did not get entry in there. But now that he won, he gets to play the Travelers. So he'll be on a little bit of a West Coast swing there. So long story short, other than that, if you looked at the rest of my 15 picks, so my top 5, and then I had 2 more rounds, the next 5, low 5. I think the only other guy worth a hoot was Harris English. I think I had Bramlett, but the rest was a bust. And then my value plays, I didn't even go through that, but I think Bramlett might have been in there. So it's always difficult to predict what these guys are going to do. It's really hard to predict when you got the B squad coming in. All right, that's it. That's for my recap. The reason why I'm not going to do more is there's not enough of these guys that are going to be playing in the U.S. Open to really and to try to compare and contrast what how they did this week compared to what they're going to do at Torrey Pines. I think makes really no sense. And also, we're never going to probably be back here anytime soon. Maybe for a one-off kind of like President's Cup or something like that. But anyways, other than that, we're going to move on. All right, let's get into it. So we are heading, of course, back to the West Coast swing. We are heading to La Jolla, California. And this is going to be dubbed the sequel, of course, back in 2008 when Tiger outdueled Rocco Mediate, that the U.S. Open that just went on and on and on, right? So they went to a playoff for 18 holes, and that didn't decide it. And then they had to go into sudden death. And finally, excuse me, that's where Rocco finally pulled it out. So we should be very familiar with this course, right? So we just saw the Farmers not too long ago where you had Patrick Reed win. The difference is that is being played on 2 rounds on the South Course, 2 rounds on the North Course. Very different courses on multiple fronts, from the type of green to the distance. So, the good news is I can do a lot of analysis just on the South Course. That's what we're going to be focusing on. And just some background information on Torrey. Funny enough, it was actually used at one time as kind of a military base during World War II. The government then sold the land back, and then there you go. They built what we know now as Torrey Pines, which, if you've ever been to La Jolla or around the San Diego area, just below Del Mar, you can go play this course. And I've actually played the North Course. It was a long time ago, but I highly recommend it. It's a little pricey, but if it's on your bucket list and you're a golfer, definitely check it out. It is a public course, and it's owned by the county or the area. And as I mentioned, architects originally was William Bell and his son, who actually helped design the final north side. Then there was a bunch of redesigns, but the 2 major ones was by Reese Jones back in 2011. I believe that's correct. It might have been 2001, but 2011 and 2019. Okay. Now, the difference is when they play the South course for the Farmers, it's typically a par 72. They did on the 6th hole, they take that par 5 typically and make it a par 4. They shorten it a little bit. So you are playing a par 71, a total of around 7,600 yards. And fairways and rough is Kikuyu grass overseed with rye. And the short of that is, if you get in this rough, it's going to be very sticky, very long, and difficult to get out of. And then when you look at the greens, you're looking at a bent grass, but mainly with POA. So you're going to just kind of keep an eye on just the POA and POA greens. If you don't understand, what's the big difference. POA can be very spotty or plotchy. And so in the morning, fine. But the grass grows very fast. And typically it grows in these little circle bunches. And so typically if you have a later tee time, you're going to see the ball probably kind of do things you're not expecting. And sometimes that can really frustrate golfers. I've talked again about this on POA. There's some guys that just love to putt on POA and don't have a problem with it. And then you got the guys that just can't stand it because of what can happen from their ball not holding a true line per se. And typically, as I mentioned, that happens as the day kind of goes on longer. Jumping over to the player field, we are looking at about typical. I actually, funny enough, counted 157 players in this player field, but everything I see says 156, so we're going to go with that. Doesn't really matter. And the cut is to T60 or better. So the lowest 60 scores and ties are going to make it onto the weekend. That's a little different than usual. We usually see T65. So again, a little hard to get a 6-6 through for this upcoming event. Historical cut line, has been a bit of a range, but typically it's around 1 under. And then in 2019, when the USO was played at Pebble Beach, which is from a view, visual is a very similar, I think, to Torrey, but how they actually play in the distance and the toughness, very different, hence the 5 under. And of course, back in 2019 at Pebble Beach, where Gary Woodland won the U.S. Open, the one before, of course, DeChambeau at Winged Foot. The winning scores can have quite a variety. Typically, I would aim more towards that +1, especially for this event that we are going to be watching here coming up. But Brooks Koepka in 2017 did shoot 16 under at Erin Hills. So that place for a U.S. Open got pretty ran. And on that note, like I said, that's just to bring up. So if you look at Brooks Koepka's back-to-back U.S. Open wins from 2018 to 2017, you can see the one at Shinnecock Hills was 1 over, and then you can see at Erin Hills it was 16 under. So, of course, again, the course that they're playing for the U.S. Open is going to dictate a bit. I think, and then you had 6 under, I believe, was the score for Bryson DeChambeau at Winged Foot recently. And then just to give you another little point of reference, back in 2008, the U.S. Open that was held at Torrey Pines, Tiger Woods shot 1 under, was the winning score. So again, just to give you some ideas. And some things I did see that the course is not going to play as hard. Now, I don't know how you rate that, but some of the things I saw, I know they removed some trees and replanted them other places. But again, it's all going to come down to weather dependent. And on that note, if we talk about the course defense, I'd say the number one defense of this course, being right on the Pacific Ocean, is wind first. The next would be the thick, long, sticky rough. You've got severe elevation changes. So why is that difficult? If you're a golfer, you know, hitting shots that are above you, below you, never have a level area to hit the ball. It's always, you're either swinging up on it, you're swinging down on it. It's going to make you pull. It's going to make you hook it. It's going to make you slice it. So that is a big deal. You also got, like Pebble Beach, you got smaller and complex greens. The average green size on tour is around 5,000 square feet. These are 4,500. Funny enough, their average size of tee boxes here are larger than their greens. I thought that was kind of interesting. Other than the ocean running along some of the holes, water only comes into play on the 18th. That's it. So it's not a real big issue about water. But you do have 54 sand traps, and you also, of course, have the pine trees that could cause some issues if you get a little wayward. As in 2008, the dogleg rights, already mentioned this, the 6 hole, which plays as a 560-yard par 5 at the Farmers, is going to be converted to a par 4, playing at 515. Again, that's number 6. And the easiest hole was 568 yards, of course, number 18, the par 5 that I just mentioned that has the water in the front. Okay, I think that gives you a good understanding about all the breakdown information on the course. And as typical, I give you a quick, dirty layout of what you're looking at here. And again, really what this is showing, of course, you can see the crevasse, water's here. The front 9 starts here. Actually, 1 kind of runs here, and then this is kind of the front side. This is the back. I'm sure you've got a pretty good understanding if you've seen this course. We just saw it again at the Farmers. But to give you a better little visualization, again, as I mentioned, right off the water here. And this hole, I think you're looking at here, is actually right here. So you're actually seeing this kind of view. I pulled this up because you can just kind of see the flag bending due to the wind. But again, there is some trees, but that's not really the issue. The fairways are decent, of course, allow you to hit them, because if you're not, you're going to get penalized pretty heavily if you're in this rough. And again, what I recommend, funny enough, as I speak, the Golf Channel is on, and Trevor Immelman is doing hole by hole. So if you've never seen this course and you're trying to get an understanding of what they're going to be attacking, just flip on the Golf Channel. You're going to get every night, day, full coverage. So there you go. And then from a scorecard perspective, this is a Farmers Open scorecard, I noticed. So you see number 6 is a par 5. But other than that, the rest of it should be pretty true that I could see. You can see there's no gentle handshake. You're starting right off with a 450-yard par 4. Another, almost 500-yard, which is the second number 1 handicap. So what you're going to notice here, I think there's 6 par 4s between 450 and 500. As usual, just like at Augusta, you're going to have to make your hay on the par 5s, and they're not easy by any stretch. They're all around either very high 5s or 600 plus. But that is your scoring opportunities, as you can see in green. Trying to see what they're saying is the easiest. So yeah, showing here, the easiest hole would be 18 at 17, and then we're losing this. So the easiest hole would have been that par 5, 564, number 6. But of course, being a U.S. Open, they went ahead and made that a par 4. So how to win, and this is where I kind of break down the skill sets that they need to do very well. So what kind of golfers are we looking to pick or bet on? The number 1 skill set, I believe, is going to be ball striking with an emphasis on approach. So both of those are going to be in my model. I do believe that you're going to have driving distance here. It's going to be a huge advantage. Again, if you think about Bryson at Winged Foot, I can see some applicability there. Now, where Bryson has been falling apart is on this whole approach side. But what he does make the course a different course for him. And he did the same thing at Winged Foot. So it's someone that we're going to have to look at. It's also his ability, because he's hitting the driver so far, that he's, of course, got less distance into the green. Hence, he gets to hit a more lofted club. But not only that, I've stated this multiple times, that his very uprightness makes he have a very deep swing impact. So if you think of the swing, it's more like a V than like a U shape, which that allows him to get it out of the rough much easier. Just again, whenever I think of long distance, heavy rough, think of even at Bay Hill, where he won recently. So you've got 2 really good examples. But I think I also was, thinking of him for at Quail Hollow, where they also had some rough and it didn't work out there. So we'll see how it all goes. The third thing I think is putting. What comes up in the past is 3-putt avoidance is huge. As I mentioned, you do have some very complex greens, a lot of movement. Also POA greens, typically as it gets on later, as I mentioned, a little hard to hold the line. Around the green shows up again. If you think of Patrick Reed, who won the Farmers Open, what does he do very well? He actually, I think he's third in the field on putting. And of course, around the green hasn't been as sharp as it was in previous years, but he's still great around the green. And then of course, scrambling, I would put up there still to get around. Your proximity to pins, what shows up the most is going to be 200 plus to 175 to 200. So some of these, funny enough, I noticed were very similar that I was looking at Palmetto. So is there some correlation? There could be a little bit when it gets to like the Garrick Hagos, who could do well here. You also got strokes gain on par fours, so I'm going to be looking at guys that do well on the long par fours, which hence is the ball strikers, guys good with their long irons. So the 450 to 500, there's 6 of those. Par 3 efficiency, just managing that along with the long par fours, and then you've got the 3 par 5s where hopefully you can strike on, but they're not, like I said, they're not gimmies. So as I always do, the first thing I like to do is build a first pass model. This will probably get tweaked. And of course, when I do my final analysis, I kind of make what I call a KISS model, which is just a keep it simple, stupid. It kind of goes to the 5 key areas that I want to look at. But for right now, we can open up and look at a lot of things and just see who kind of gets plugged up. And so, as I mentioned, ball striking is rated at 15%. That's, I believe, that's the highest rated or weighted category I have from a stroke gain analysis. Approach is next at 10, putting at 10. Driving distance, I put at 5. Fairways gain at 5, so made those equal. The 3-putt avoidance, I do think is huge. You're going to have to avoid the big numbers here. You also got around the green at 10%. The par 4, 450 to 500 at 10%. The par 5s at 10%. Proximity from 175 to 200, and 200s at 5%. And then scrambling at the end. And again, it's the weighting. It's not the order that these are in. I've got no filters on this, so it's literally just looking at their past 12 rounds, 3 tournaments on average. And if you click my rank, this ranks those guys come up. And again, not looking at any specific course-wise or anything, just recent form. And of course, Sam Burns, and Streelman been playing good golf. You got Morikawa, who just had the runner-up. Louis been playing awesome and putting ridiculous for Louis, but it's staying there. You got Answers doing well, Schauffele, of course, Cantlay. Recent with a win at Memorial. Even Scheffler had a good showing there. You had Kokrak, who won at Charles Schwab. So anyways, it makes sense. From a recent form standpoint, these are the guys that pop up. And then the next thing that I wanted to look at was history at Torrey Pines South. And so if we take a look at that, of course, no shocker. So this is only the last 12 rounds or less, depending on what these guys played, at this specific golf course. Now, you got to remember, this isn't under U.S. Open conditions. This is the last 12 rounds they played at the Farmers Open. And, of course, no shocker, you have Patrick Reed that just recently won. It pops up. You got Finau, Kokrak again pops up. I think Bubba Watson could be interesting play this upcoming weekend. Trying to see anybody else that kind of sticks out that interests me. Of course, Phil has done well on this course, and I think he'll be the main talk of the town, trying to get his career Grand Slam. And I know it's gonna be interesting if Phil ends up being like the chalk bomb, because I have a feeling he's gonna be pretty heavily played. But we'll see how that all kind of pans out here as we go forward. And then on the bottom, you got John Rahm, who of course should have won the Memorial. But due to the positive test, did not get to finish. And then I also created this Best of the West. And what that is I pulled up the guys on how they play on the West Coast, so who has the most success. And funny enough, quite a few guys that are from the West Coast pop up. Of course, you got Max Homa, who just recently won the Genesis at Riviera. You've got Cantlay, who is also, I believe he was UCLA guy, but I know he's a West Coast guy. Has had success out there, right? He had that great run before he kind of went downhill at the Amex and the AT&T Pro-Am. He had Berger, who won I believe it was the AT&T, and I'm going to get him confused, or the Amex. Who else we got here? Are there any other guys from the West side that pop out? No, but just to give you kind of a list of guys that have done well on POA courses into California. You got to remember, there's going to be a difference in temperatures. So a lot of these courses they've been playing, I mean, especially like the Palmetto is like 90 degrees, the Texas play. We're going to be, going back to wearing probably zip up hoodies and, a little different conditions than what we've been seeing on the other swings. It's a little cooler there. And then some history on comp courses. So this was plugging in POA greens and over 7,400 yards. That was it. And it has slimmed it down pretty quick just with those things. And number one's like Riviera that pops up, of course, the Genesis. Shinnecock Hills popped up. Bethpage Black. So kind of the one-off courses for the different like PGAs and US Opens. Just to give you kind of a flavor of some of the courses I got pulled. Again, if you look at the rank, you got DJ, Shoffley, Scott, of course, Shoffley, also a San Diego kid. Cantlay up there. Rose has done well. So some of the kind of similar names. Kokrat pops up again. Paul Casey I've seen pop up. I think he could be a good play here. Max Homa down here. There's Bubba, again, I mentioned earlier. So just to give you some ideas of some guys that pop up who's done well at the comparable courses, which again, over 7,400 yards and playing POA greens. And on that note, some of the best POA putters, I thought, this is something I was going to look at. I wanted to share with you guys. And so this is over the last 12 rounds. I kept it at 12 rounds. Sometimes when I do this, I'll go to like 24 rounds. But then you see people that creep in that I know are not putting well, and I don't want them, for my own. I don't want them in there. But this makes sense to me. Louis Oosthuizen has just, been striking and putting well. He pops up. Kuchar's always been a solid putter. Of course, Reed, I already mentioned, number 3 out of the whole PGA Tour. Poulter's been pretty hot with the putter because JT posted this as one major weapon. Burns, great putter. Now, funny enough, typically that's Bermuda. I always think of Burns, but he also has a good showing on POA. Matt Jones, I think, could be very interesting play coming up here. Australian guy, can deal with the winds. Has been in good form. Of course, we know what Daniel Berger did winning on the West Coast earlier this year. Just see anybody else that pops up to. Thought it was interesting. Akshay Bhatia popped, but that's only 5 rounds. I think that's it. So just to give you an idea of some guys that do well putting on POA. And that's it. It was a pretty quick overview, but, I'm going to have to spend a lot more time on analysis with the picks. But I wanted to get that over to you guys, get that out. And thank you so much again for tuning in. And I already sent the money for some of you guys that won this U.S. Open event. I still need a couple of you guys to reach out to me. I'll ping you again so we can hurry up and get your entries in. But again, if you could like and share, if you like what I'm doing here, I appreciate it. I appreciate all the positive comments I've been getting. And if you haven't subscribed, but you've been checking me out, hey, please subscribe. It helps me out, and it's going to help you out in the future. And if you have anything that I can help you with, always check me out on Twitter at DFS Golf Guru, or just ask me whatever I can help you with on the YouTube comments, either or, and I'll answer and get back to you. All right, stay tuned. I will be coming out tomorrow with my pick show, and then to follow up everything we'll need to know before the lock. All right, guys, take care.